Hello, my name is John, a servant of the Most High God. I only respond to people who profess to be Christians. People who don't claim to be Christians, that's between them and God the Father. God will judge them. But to the people who claim to be Christians and speak for Jesus, I refute those who teach false doctrines, and I defend the word of my God. Jesus would not be for the death penalty. All you have to do is read what Jesus has already said in the Bible. The question was, on the death penalty, what would Jesus do? Huckabee's answer was, Jesus was too smart to run for public office. Everybody laughs. This is not a laughing matter, but a serious one. If Jesus was too smart to run for public office, and Huckabee is a Baptist preacher who is supposed to be Christ-like, does this mean that since Huckabee is running for office, he is dumb, not smart by his own words? If Huckabee is supposed to be Christ-like, shouldn't he be like Jesus and not run for office? But since he is running for office, by his own words, he is calling himself dumb, not smart. He is right about Jesus wanting nothing to do with politics, because that was not his calling. This should have been Huckabee's answer. Here is an example of what Jesus said when asked about the death penalty. John chapter 8, verses 1 through 11.
Chapter 8. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Now early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they said to him,
Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. Now Moses, in the law, commanded us that such should be stoned. What do you say?
This they said, testing him, that they might have something of which to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger, as though he did not hear. So when they continued asking him, he raised himself up and said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first.
And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground.
Then those who heard it, being convicted by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the oldest even to the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had raised himself up and saw no one but the woman, he said to her, Woman, where are those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you? She said,
No one, Lord.
And Jesus said to her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more.
A Christian should have nothing to do with America politics. A Christian could not be an American president because America retaliates against its enemies. United States of America is an enemy of God. Jesus said,
You have heard that it was said, An eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you not to resist an evil person. But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. You have heard that it was said, You shall love your neighbor, and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do so? Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect.
America does not love their enemies, but kills their enemies. This is not a New Testament teaching, but the Old Testament teaching. The death penalty is an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth teaching. and not love your enemies, like Jesus said.